When you think about 360-degree cameras, one brand almost always comes to mind first, and that's Insta360. Over the years, they've consistently pushed this category forward, not just by increasing resolution, but by making 360 cameras easier and more practical for everyday creators. With the release of the Insta360 X5, the company isn't reinventing the concept, but rather refining it in meaningful ways. This camera is clearly aimed at creators who want more reliability, better image quality, and a smoother shooting-to-editing experience. Whether you're capturing travel moments, action sports, or cinematic social content, the X5 promises to be a serious step forward. But how well does it actually perform? Let's take a closer look. Starting with the design, the X5 looks familiar, but not identical to its predecessor. One side features a new geometric texture that gives the camera a slightly more modern, industrial feel, while the other side is dominated by the large touchscreen. Button placement will feel instantly recognizable to anyone who has used an X3 or X4. You've got the power and quick settings button on one side, along with the USB-C port tucked behind a sealed waterproof door. On the opposite side is the battery compartment, which also houses the mSD card. The battery itself is marginally larger than the one used in the X4, though the difference isn't dramatic. Still, every bit of extra capacity helps. The camera is surrounded by microphones, ensuring audio capture from all directions, and there's a built-in wind reduction grille that does a decent job outdoors. When you place the X5 next to the X4, the similarities are obvious. The size, weight, and overall shape are nearly identical, and the screen sizes appear almost the same. The most noticeable physical change is the repositioning of the charging port, which has allowed Insta360 to slightly rework the internal layout. Compared to the X3, the X5 is clearly larger and a bit thicker, but it never feels bulky or uncomfortable to use. The added size hasn't created any real-world handling issues for us. One of the most important hardware upgrades, and arguably the most requested feature from users over the years, is the introduction of replaceable lenses. This is huge. For the first time on an X-series camera, you can actually remove and replace a damaged lens yourself in a matter of minutes. The replacement process is incredibly straightforward. Attach the tool, twist, remove the lens, and install the new one. It genuinely takes less than half a minute. What makes this even more impressive is the price. Replacement lenses are sold for around $30, which is incredibly affordable compared to what lens damage has cost users in the past. Lens scratches have always been one of the biggest pain points with 360 cameras, and this single change dramatically improves the long-term usability of the X5. Battery performance is solid. In real-world use, the camera can comfortably last most of the day as long as you power it down between shoots. Insta360 claims extremely fast charging, advertising 80% in 20 minutes. In our testing, that number was optimistic. We saw closer to 40 to 50% in the same time frame. That said, even 40 to 50% in 20 minutes is still very respectable and genuinely useful when you're shooting on the go. It's worth noting that many of the new body-hugging accessories designed for the X5 won't work with older Insta360 cameras. This is simply due to subtle design changes. Standard accessories like selfie sticks, tripods, and mounts still work just fine, but anything molded specifically for the camera body will need to be repurchased if you're upgrading. On paper, the X5's video specs don't look revolutionary. You're still getting 8K at 30 frames per second and 5.7K at up to 60 frames per second, just like the X4. Where the real upgrade lies is inside the camera. The X5 uses dual 1x1.28-inch sensors, which are significantly larger than the sensors found in the X4. Whether you want to call that a massive leap or a meaningful step forward depends on perspective. But there's no question that larger sensors improve noise performance, dynamic range, and overall image quality. Rather than obsessing over numbers, what matters is how the footage actually looks. The X5 produces cleaner images with better contrast, improved highlight retention, and noticeably reduced noise, especially in challenging lighting. It's not just a subtle tweak. In many situations, the difference is obvious without pixel peeping. Looking at the main 360 video modes, 5.7K HDR, 5.7K+, and 8K, they all deliver strong results. Dynamic range is consistently good, colors look pleasing straight out of the camera, and exposure is handled well, even with harsh backlighting. Interestingly, the visual difference between these modes isn't as dramatic as you might expect. While 8K does retain slightly more fine detail when you zoom in heavily, the gap isn't massive, which raises questions about how necessary the higher resolution really is for most users. There are still quirks. In certain high-detail scenes, especially when zooming in aggressively, we noticed a strange shimmering or aliasing effect. It's not something most people will notice in normal use, but it's there if you push the footage hard enough. HDR video can be enabled in 5.7K mode, and while it does help in some high-contrast situations, the difference isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it makes a noticeable improvement, other times it barely changes the image. It's effective, but not universally transformative. What really stood out to me, though, was shooting in 5.7K at 60 frames per second. We personally prefer 60 frames per second for its realism and sense of presence. And on the X5, this mode looks fantastic. The footage feels sharper, smoother, and more lifelike, especially for walking shots and immersive scenes. It won't appeal to everyone, particularly those who prefer cinematic frame rates, but for my style of shooting, it's one of the X5's strongest options. Slow motion at 4K 120 frames per second is also available. While it's not the sharpest footage the camera can produce, the motion quality is excellent and perfectly usable for occasional slow-motion clips. Audio quality has improved as well. The built-in microphones handle light wind and outdoor environments better than previous generations. And when compared directly against older Insta360 cameras, the X5 consistently delivers the cleanest sound. Low-light performance is where the X5 genuinely surprised us. Insta360's new Pure Video mode is designed specifically for nighttime shooting, automatically adjusting settings with the help of AI. The results are impressive. Footage shot in Pure Video is significantly brighter, better exposed, and cleaner than standard video modes. While heavy zooming still reveals softness and artifacts, for normal wide shots, the performance is among the best we've seen from a consumer 360 camera. Stitching performance remains strong overall. Seams are still visible at very close distances, but that's expected. Insta360's newer AI stitching behaves slightly differently from traditional optical flow stitching, and while it's not perfect, it can be beneficial in certain scenarios. One of the biggest workflow advantages of the X5 is that the footage simply looks good straight out of the camera. Colors, contrast, and exposure are dialed in well enough that color grading often feels unnecessary. For creators producing a lot of content, this alone can save hours of editing time. We also tested overheating by recording 8K footage continuously in direct sunlight. The camera eventually shut down after just under an hour, which is extremely impressive for sustained 8K recording. Results will vary depending on conditions, but this test shows that overheating is far less of an issue than it used to be. For photography and virtual tours, the X5 is equally impressive. Compared against cameras like the Insta360's own older models, it delivers better dynamic range, sharper images, and, most importantly, a dramatically faster workflow. Built-in HDR processing eliminates the need for time-consuming manual merging and editing, making it a very compelling option for professional virtual tours moving forward. The X5 can also be used in single lens mode, shooting flat video at up to 4K 60 frames per second. Image quality here is excellent, though horizon stabilization isn't perfect. Still, it's a useful additional shooting option, and future firmware updates are expected to bring Pure Video to this mode as well. There's also a new InstaFrame feature that automatically records a pre-reframed video while simultaneously capturing the full 360 file. It's not flawless, and tracking can struggle at times, but it's a smart idea for creators who want minimal editing. At $550, the X5 is the most expensive X-series camera yet. Is it worth it? For first-time 360 users, absolutely. For X4 owners, probably not. The improvements, while real, aren't significant enough to justify upgrading so soon. But if you're coming from an X3, a 1-inch edition, or anything older, the X5 is a clear and meaningful upgrade. The faster startup time, smoother user experience, improved image quality, replaceable lenses, and streamlined workflow all add up to a camera that feels genuinely refined. It's designed to get out of your way and let you focus on shooting, not fiddling with settings. At the end of the day, the Insta360 X5 isn't perfect, but it's the closest thing to a polished, all-in-one 360 camera that we've used so far. Thanks for watching.